how to waterboard your radio rep. I did extend an invitation to our media people. For some reason, they didn't stay. I don't understand the reason why, but maybe they found out who was leading the session. And listen, I'd like to introduce Will Hegarty. Mr. Hegarty.
Hi, my name is Deidre Turley. When I started at KKFR Radio, they assigned me to Will Hegarty. Probably because I was a newbie and he had already burned through all the other sales reps. I was having to call my manager over holidays and New Year's to try to get my manager to approve Will's super ridiculously low rates, trying to get the deal done, but Will was relentless.
Hi, my name is Roberta Anderson. I work with Clear Channel Media and Entertainment here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have worked with Will Hegarty on his bridal shows and radio for about 20 years now. And it's been a great experience because I have the opportunity to work with someone who really understands how to use radio in the right way, and he really has created a great formula for how he buys his radio, and very effectively, very inexpensively, not necessarily the way we want to sell it, and sometimes it's a little more challenging when I have to go and take these deals back to my manager, but it works for him, and in the end it works for us.
When our esteemed colleague, Tommy Vaughn, asked what I wanted to title my seminar, I said, "How to Waterboard Your Radio Rep." And Tommy said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." But time passed, and Mr. Tommy Vaughn is a righteous man. He is my elder by 3 days, and his words did weigh heavily upon my soul. And so, Bill, I changed my title. Now, how many of you in the room enjoy the negotiation process in buying a new car? The negotiation, 1, 2, all right. These are people that are of my own heart, because so do I. Now, I think that it fills a space in my ancient hunter instincts. Now, if I wanted, I could hunt literally in my own backyard. Wild pig, rabbit, quail, rattlesnake. That's right. Those of you who visited our home at last year's BSBI conference didn't know what I was doing just before your bus arrived. I had a long stick, and I was checking each of the bushes in our backyard for visitors. Now, I do not get satisfaction from hunting animals. I do get my satisfaction from hunting radio deals. Now, a good rule of thumb is if your radio rep is not crying the blues to you about how he or she will have to be hiding your special deal from his sales manager, you probably left some money on the table. Now, you don't need to be rude or nasty to your rep. In fact, you can kill them with kindness. But you still have to have ice water in your veins to get your best value. It doesn't matter that your radio rep bought you lunch, got you tickets, or that her kids have play dates with your kids. You are hunting for the radio deals that will bring you the most rides to your exhibitors. But don't worry about the radio station suffering. If they have a better offer, they will take it. And how do you get your best radio value? By not making the mistakes that I did. Mistake number 1, not enough frequency. For our first bridal show, we ran 6 spots on each of 3 stations, a total of 18 spots. Total benefit? 0. We might as well have put our money into a pile and burned it. Why? Because a bride still needs to hear about your show at least 3 or 4 times before she takes some kind of action. Now, if you have the choice of reaching 10,000 people once Or 2,000 people, 5 times, choose the frequency every time. What do we do now? In January, we run over 1,500 radio and TV spots on 15 stations. Now, what if you can only afford 100 radio spots total? Well, find the top radio station in your market for women, 1834, and run all your spots on that one station. What if you can only afford 40 radio spots? Well, pick a day part on that one station and saturate it. Morning drive, afternoon drive, midday, depends on the station. At least you have a chance to reach one group of brides and get them to your show. Now, what if you can only afford 18 spots, like we did our first show? Send me the money, it will do you as much good, and at least one person will be happy. Mistake number 2, running your spots too early. We used to start our January campaign 2.5 weeks before the show. That was a complete waste of resources. Radio and TV are immediate media. Most people decide to come to your show the week of your show. Now, we start our ads on the Monday before the show. Now, why Monday instead of closer, Wednesday or Thursday? Well, because it's not just one person's schedule. The bride does not come alone, and she needs to make sure that the bridesmaids or the mothers who are coming with her mark your show on their calendars too. Mistake number 3, stopping your spots too soon. We run our ads until noon on Sunday. Why? Because if the bride was out partying the night before, you want to remind her that the place that she wants to be today is your show. Mistake number 4, running spots before your competitor's show. Now, someone started a publication and a bridal show in our market, and they asked if they could be in our show if they did their 2 shows off-season from ours. Now, we said, okay, and you know what happened. They left our show. They expanded to 3 shows a year, with one of them only 2 weeks ahead of our summer show. Now, we were afraid that brides would only know about his show. We were also kind of angry that he had misled us. We were so angry that we wanted to drop the piano on him, figuratively. So we dropped the piano. We ran a very heavy, very expensive radio flight the week before his show. We ran 4 times the number of spots that he did. Well, that would show him, huh? That strategy would have worked except for one little thing. Oh yeah, little thing called Google. Actually, as it turned out, we dropped the piano on ourselves because we were actually helping him. Brides would hear our spots on the radio and they'd hear bridal show. Those brides would Google bridal show and they went to his bridal show. So we stopped doing that. His attendance went down and our attendance went up. Mistake that we made, number 5, ignoring short spots. Initially, when Clear Channel started pushing 30-second spots instead of 60-second spots, we resisted. However, ultimately, wanting to get the maximum frequency, we experimented with the shorter spots. Bottom line, you don't have to run 60-second spots. You can tighten up your message and get good results with 30-second spots. And by the way, on TV, we only run 30s, 10s, and 5s. Mistake number 6, not buying for a whole year. You heard some of this morning. Your big show is in January. The worst month of the year for radio stations is January. The Christmas sales are over. The New Year's specials, they're done. Those guys have all spent their money. You get really good rates, all of you do, in January. But don't stop with January. At the end of December, stations are trying to finish up the year with the most bookings that they can get. So hold out for a radio package that includes guaranteed rates for your non-January shows. The rates will most likely not be as good as the January rates, but they will still be much, much better if you negotiate for the full year. Mistake number 7, buying the wrong time segments. Earlier today, you heard talk about fire sales. Every station runs a fire sale sometime during the year to dump unsold inventory. The cost per spot appears to be very, very low. But then you take a closer look. Lots of hamburger helper in there. Spots that have no nutritional value. Our best results are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The listeners are dramatically lower before and after those times. Mistake number 8, assuming that you are the 98-pound weakling and you have no power. For radio stations, yeah, you're right, you are the little guy. But what you can do as a little guy is to use your strengths, your weakness, as a strength. You don't have the budget of Coke or Budweiser or a car dealer, and radio stations know that. Now when you say, well, this is all I can afford, I just take the leftovers after the big guys make their buys. Well, the radio stations believe you, because it's true and they know it. And that brings me to my great eureka. Mistake number 9, not using preemptibles in January. I'll take you back, it was December, and I was about to make my radio buys. And a radio rep had just told me, you know, January really stinks. You know, you could drive a truck through every radio station's avails in this market in January. And I went to bed that night dreaming about that. And I woke up about 4 o'clock the next morning, and we were already getting a really, really solid deal on our January rates. But it was like, eureka! Well, in January, I don't want low radio rates. I want outrageously low radio rates. So, I called my first radio up and I said, I have good news, and I have good news, and I have good news. The good news for you is I'm going to spend $200 more with you on your station this January than I did last January. The good news for me is that you're going to run twice as many spots. And the good news for both of us is, well, you've got the avails to do that. Well, now you know what happened. I mean, my radio rep was very polite and said, well, you know, I'll take that to my sales manager, but you know, I don't think he'll approve that. And my rep was correct. His station did not make the deal. The second station did not take the deal. But one station did take the deal. And from there, it was falling dominoes. One by one, over the course of 2 weeks, the other stations took the deal. Because when station number 2 found out that his competitor, station number 1, was offering these rates, he matched it. And then after I had 2 stations giving us that really, really great deal, you know, getting station number 3 to do it, well, that was easier. The final station manager okayed our low rate, high frequency buy at literally the last moment, just before he went home from the station on New Year's Eve. Now, how did my reps sell this to their sales managers? Well, first, we were not cutting our budget at all. We weren't doing that. We were actually increasing our spending with them a little bit. You know, $200, but that's still an increase. They were not losing money. In taking our business, they were not turning down other business. And here's the key. Our January spots from that time on are all preemptible. If the station gets some better last-minute deals, last-minute business, well, they can take it. The January deal that they make with us is totally risk-free for their station. And for us, we don't pay over $50 per radio spot in January. And on some stations, we pay even less. Mistake number 10. Not getting no bump for your non-January shows. Not getting no bump for your non-January shows. Now, why do we accept preemptible rates in January? Because we almost never get preempted. The first 2 weeks of January, the stations in our market are almost never sold out, so they almost never bump our spots. So why do we insist on a no bump spot for all of our non-January shows? Because the stations would bump our spots a lot. Now remember, the radio station's sales manager has a hunger to get your order by the end of December, because that is going to maximize his bonus for that year. Now, by the time that your non-January shows arrive, the tables have turned. And he can make a lot more money by bumping your spots and selling them to a last-minute buyer. Radio is very similar to the airlines. I agree with the woman that said that this morning. You get your best rates if you lock them in early for your non-January shows. That's the qualifier. Airlines have a fixed number of seats. Radio stations have a fixed number of spots. As a flight from New York to San Antonio gets filled up, prices go up on the remaining seats. As radio spot supply, of course, goes down, same thing, prices go up. And if you wait too long, you may not even be able to get onto your most important radio stations at any price. So in December of each year, negotiate your January spots as preemptibles and your non-January spots as no bump. And always get a signature from the station's sales manager. Mistake number 11, not getting first into break. Now we challenge our reps to have us be first into break for every spot on one day. Usually that day is Monday. Some stations will guarantee that first into break. Most will not. But on the Friday before our spots start, we get the pre-logs from each of our reps. Very few people do this. Anybody else get the pre-log the week before? Okay, we got a couple more folks that like to follow up on that. As you can see, it's not that common. And it's even less common for people that aren't bridal show producers. So we get those pre-logs, and then what we do on Monday, we put them on a spreadsheet, and then we sort them by when those are coming up, and we listen. We listen to see if we got first into break. If not, then I will call that rep, and I will express my disappointment and dismay that these other reps, they're really taking care of me, and you're not taking care of me. Monitoring your spots also makes sure that the spots that are running really are running. And as Sheila mentioned earlier this morning, and that they're running the right spots. Because once we had a January spot that ended up running on our June show schedule, and it told brides to come to the show on Saturday and Sunday when it was really on a Sunday-only show. But we got it early. Trust, but verify. Stations will give you better service than to the advertisers who do not monitor their spots. Mistake number 12, not being your own agency. If an advertising agency places your ads, typically the stations give them 15% of the gross. Act as your own agency. Get that 15% discount so you can run even more ads, bring in more brides, and make your exhibitors even happier. And that is the real cherry on the top. Thank you.